Okay, we're Malachim Aleph Perek Yud, and today we're talking about Queen Sheba. That's a story. Just the connection between the two Prakim. So yesterday we ended with Perek. We just got started right now. So yesterday we ended with Perek Tes, and Perek Tes we have that Shlomo HaMelech made a voyage to, according to Belsky, he went to Peru, and now nearby when he went down there, he went there to bring the gold. To get gold for the Beis HaMikdash and for his Malchus, and when he went on this voyage, it was nearby. The Queen of Sheba was not far away from Peru, and she heard all about. They were all talking, and they were all talking about what's going on in Yisrael, what's going on in Shalayim, HaMelech, and she said, "I got to see this myself. I got to check it out." And that's what today's Perek is. Perek Yud. Sheba was near Peru, and what happened was when they were having the whole conversations, and they said, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And I got to see this, and she came down, and we'll see now the Perek today, Perek Yud, is pretty much discusses her journey to Yerushalayim to talk to HaMelech. Okay, pasuk Aleph, Malkish Shiva Shemas Shemei Shlomo L'Shem Hashem V'Tavai L'Noisei B'Chidos. So Queen of Sheba, she heard all about HaMelech, and she came to HaMelech to test it with riddles. What does that mean, riddles? So we'll see. She knew Shlomo HaMelech was a Chacham Kol Adam, so she wanted to hear all. She had a lot of questions. She went to Shlomo and she wanted to discuss it with him. So she asked him, okay, pasuk days. Shalayim, she came to Shalayim, the Chayil Kavim Oy with a huge entourage, Gemalim, Naisim Misam Zav, with camels carrying spices and gold, Rav Ma'od. The Evan Yikara, she wore precious stones. The Tavi Shalayim, Dabei Love, Eis Kol Asher Haya Love. She went to talk to Shlomo and to discuss everything that was in her heart. Pasuk Gimel. Okay, V'yagala Shlomo. It's called of her. She told Shlomo all her questions and things that she wanted to discuss. But there was nothing that she didn't discuss with Shlomo HaMelech. There was nothing that Shlomo HaMelech opposite. There was nothing that Shlomo HaMelech didn't steal from her. In other words, he gave her all the answers and all her questions and whatever she wanted. That's called Chachma Shlomo. And she saw all the wisdom and the Chachma Shlomo and the bias that he built. She saw the architecture of the Beis HaMikdash, and she saw all different interesting. That's what the Mepharshim will learn, by the way. And she was super impressed. And also a Michael Shulchanai, the show, the way that we learn is to show all about the foods and the very high quality, Moshe Avadav, and how the seating was arranged for all the Avadim, and also the position, the servants, and how they dress. Everyone had different types of. Based on the job you had, you wore different things. Recently we were by a factory. I was just thinking, when we finished Shmuel Bays, we went to a factory in New Jersey, Davis Cookies, and we saw in the factory every worker, the cleaning crew had their attire, and the guy who's the inbound and the outbound, everyone had different, based on. So she was impressed how it was all organized and arranged, and it was a tremendous operation, like we spoke about. So. In those days, in the days of old, when they didn't have cars, and but they had different architectures and different designs and different types of things that people didn't really have. That was very impressive. And also by Lassa, and also she saw the ramp. And what's the ramp? So the ramp that was Asher Yala Beis Hashem, Asher Yala Beis Hashem. That went from Shlomo's house to Beis Hashem. There was a ramp that connected the house of David into the Beis HaMikdash, and she was very impressed with that ramp. We'll see in a second why. That's a pasuk base. Anyways, when this happened, she lost her breath. What does that mean? She was so impressed, she was like speechless. It took her breath away. Exactly. That's where it comes from this pasuk. She told Shlomo, it's true this that I heard about you, it's really true. And also what they say about your chachma. And she says that I didn't believe it until I saw it with my own eyes. And not only that, this that I heard was not even half of what it really was. It was even more. And this that I've heard. So in other words, she's saying is that I heard about you, Shlomo, that you tremendous greatness and chachma, etc. But now that I went to see it myself, my own eyes, I realized that it's not even half of what it's much more. And it's just in general. You see smart people like to see things with their own eyes. They don't just. Yes, I remember after October 7th, I was watching a clip with my good friend Elon Musk, and I saw he went there. He went to Kfar Aza, and he was showing that he saw a baby's crib. There was bullets, and he was very impressed. And I remember that's why when I launched my first mission to Eretz Yisrael right after the war, right when the war started, it was because of that. I saw successful people like to see things with their own eyes. Don't tell me stories. I want to see it. And this is where it comes from. It comes to the idea. She says, I was so impressed that I wanted to come see it. And I realized it was much greater than I even saw it. Anyways, it's true. Successful people want to see it with their own eyes. Don't tell me stories. I want to go see it. Avi knows this about this.
So if you understand the guy, the DOT, the commissioner came down to see the traffic.
Everyone knows
about traffic.
You see it.
See it.
Right.
You have to see it.
Right.
The chayzik of these tours, it's just no, they're coming to want to see it.
It's a pasuk. That's it. Pasuk ches.
Last time for the picture.
And she said, "Ashrei Yanashcha and Anashcha." She said, "Fortunate are these people, Klal Yisrael, Asher Avdecha Eila, that they fortunate are these your servants, that serve you, and the people listen to your chachma." In other words, she's saying, "Klal Yisrael so lucky to have you." He Hashem Aken Baruch, and she says Hashem should be Baruch Hashem Chayfetz Baruch, and those who desire you, Al Kisei Yisrael, and the people put you on the throne of Yisrael. Ba'ava Hashem Al Yisrael La'olam V'Simech L'Melech. Lots of mishpat. She pointed the king, and you appoint the king to do justice and righteous. In other words, she's saying a bracha to. She's giving a bracha. Now, pasuk Yevayite L'Melech, and she gave to Shlomo Esrim Kikar Zav. May have 120 kikar of zav, besamim harbe, and also a tremendous amount of besamim as a present, yikara, precious stones. Loibak kabaisem hu oy l'roiv shenad los makashava l'makasham. It was never again has someone given such a big donation of spices like she gave to Shlomo HaMelech. Okay, so she was super impressed. She saw all that happened in the Beis HaMikdash, and she gave all the different presents, and she got all her answers that she needed. V'gam ani v'chiram asher nasa zov me'ofer, and the ships of Chiram that brought the gold from Ophir, like we said yesterday, right? That Chiram and Shlomo had a voyage. Actually, it was really Shlomo's voyage, and Chiram were the sailors of the voyage, and they brought the gold from Ophir, like we said yesterday, and they brought atzei agbulim harbe me'oiv yikara. And on the voyage, they brought, besides bringing the gold, they also brought corals and precious stones. And we said a minute ago, we had about the ramp that connected the Beis HaMikdash to Shlomo's house. So we see v'yas HaMelech, it's atzei lugim. Beside the Beis Hashem, the Beis HaMelech, he took coral from this voyage. Okay, so they went on this voyage and they brought back all different interesting things. So one of the things they brought back was, besides the gold, was coral. Now, what's coral? Coral is the tusk of an elephant. And no, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused with the other thing. Coral is from the ocean. It's from the ocean, and right, I'm getting confused. I'm sorry. That's what Rashi. Rashi says coral balaz. Okay, so the atzei glum is the wood of the coral. What does that mean? So in the ocean at the bottom there is this coral, right, the coral reef, and there's this certain wood in it, and that wood was very chashiv, and that wood they used to make the pathway to the of this ramp. Now, there's a lot of pshatim. One pshat was for the handrails of the ramp, and because it seemed like it was an elevated ramp. It wasn't a regular ramp because the Beis HaMikdash was higher than Shlomo's house, so the ramp went up. So it needed handrails. So some say it was really for the this was chashav wood. Some say that was really Yehuda says it was really it was some expensive wood. The Barbanel learns that it was fragrant aloe wood. There's different types of wood, but that it was. But the idea was that it was wood that was made for the pathway for the Beis HaMikdash to David's house. Okay, and it was some sort of elevated ramp. Okay, and that's the lashon musad, because musad means like a path. Okay, we go back. And also with this wood, he made a harp and a volume for the music. And it never had such a coral appeared. So they brought special coral from the void, and it was never seen before and after, and that's it. HaMelech Shlomo Nasal Makishava. So Shlomo gave the Makishava Ace Kol Chefsa, whatever she wanted, a she'ula that she asked for. aside, Hashem nasan la ki HaMelech Shlomo about Tifa v'Teich la'artza. We have let's see what that means in a second. But what does that mean? He gave her all she wanted. So the Rizal brings down very interesting. Rizal that brings down. He had a girsa of Rashi that says that he had a Kabbalah that Rashi said wasn't everything he wanted. So Rashi says Baala that Shlomo was boiled with her, and no ben Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar came out of this relationship, and Nebuchadnezzar was the one who ended up destroying the Beis HaMikdash. So it's like almost like we had when Shlomo was with Bas Parai, the day that he married Bas Parai. I think that's what it says. It says the Medrash brings down that Gabriel put a reed in the sea, and from that point, Rome was started to grow from the Yam little by little until one day Rome came to destroy the Beis HaMikdash. So it's just an interesting Arizal that's brought down Shem Rashi. Okay. Anyways, so he gave her everything she wanted. So he gave everything she wanted, and besides for the Chachma, no, that's the way. He gave her everything she wanted. Besides for all the Chachma, he took care of her. And what did she do? She went home. Her and her husband went back. Okay, so again, she comes to Beis HaMikdash to check out what's happening. She's happy. She learns a lot. She has all her questions, all the answers. She gave gifts, and now she goes back home. That's the end of the story. And now Pasuk Yudalid. How much gold did Shlomo have in 1 year? Was 666 kikars of a tremendous amount of gold, and that's lavad. Besides besides the gold that the merchants brought, and u'misachar harchelim and the spice dealers brought, and v'chol malchei erev ufachos haaretz. Besides the kings that were under him, in other words, there was subservient kings, because in Eretz Yisrael there were a lot of kings that, besides for what he controlled, other kings controlled other things, and they also brought gold. So it's saying is that he had 606 kikars of, besides from the other gold that the lesser amounts of gold from the merchants and from the spice dealers and from the other kings that brought in. And in other words, it's just trying to show that there was a tremendous amount of wealth in the time of Shlomo HaMelech, to the point that the next pasuk says, "V'yasa HaMelech Shlomo Messiah Tzina Zav Shachat," that he made 200 of these massive shields, and each shield was sheish meir zav, was 600 dinar of zav yalo tina achas. So he made these shields. Either he did it for design purposes or actually for real shields, and he made 200 of these. He made 200 of these very large full shields, and it was made out of a zav shachar, which is soft gold, and each one, like we said, was 600 dinar of zav. And he did, and that's times 200. Okay, just want to point out that zav shachar is soft gold. I was just reading the Gemara says maybe it means it's so soft it can even be spun. It can be spun like thread. So why do you do that for a shield? It should be hard gold, right? So again, so either you can learn it was decorative purposes, he didn't really use it, or it was very, very thick. So soft gold but very thick, so it could protect. And why didn't he use barzel or something else? The answer is he's trying to show the wealth. You want to show wealth, make everything out of gold. So that's the idea is that the time of Shlomo HaMelech was a tremendous amount of wealth. And also, besides for those, he made 300 shalosh meginim, which are regular shields. And that was also zav shachat, and that was half the weight. That was shalosh manim zav. That was 300 of mana of gold. Okay? Actually, I didn't realize that. The first one, okay, so the first one was dinar zav, and the second was mana. Okay, so just one more time. Shlomo HaMelech made 200 big, huge shields. Each one was 300 dinar of gold. Then he made these smaller shields. He made 300, and that was 300 of mana of gold. Okay. Again, it's trying to show the wealth of the times of Shlomo HaMelech. And that was Yala Maganachas per shield. HaMelech base Yar Levanon. And he put it in the storage house, right? We know the base Yar Levanon was a Shlomo HaMelech's storage house. So that's where he kept, on the first floor, they kept a different storage. So that's where they kept these shields. Okay, so far so good? I'll just tell you, very interesting. I just saw a Gemara like this morning. My Chavish didn't show up. So I just read a Gemara. The Gemara brings down that why is it called Beis Yar Levanon? So really, we know it's referring to the storage house, right? But it's also somehow, it's also interchanged with the Beis HaMikdash. And it says that the Beis HaMikdash was called a forest. Why? because they used to plant trees. The Beis Hamikdash, they used to plant trees out of gold, and it used to grow. And they used to have these trees that grew gold. Like, let's say, you have a money tree. So they had apple tree, have golden apples. And he used to take the gold apple off the tree, and he used to sell it. And the Kahanim used to go ahead and support themselves with those trees. It's a Gemara, very interesting Gemara. Where is it? It's a Gemara in Yoma. Look it up. Very interesting. Anyways, it's a Gemara of Matzutra, about Tuvia. It says, Lama Nikra Shema Yar, L'chsev Yar Levanon, Lemelach Ma Yar Levavev, Af Beis Hamikdash Levavev. The Amar Rav, Haishia B'Shah Shabbat Shab Beis Hamikdash, not to call Megideh Megadim Mishazav. Yeah, and he planted it and it grew and gave Parnas to the Kahanim. Okay. What? Yeah, the Fama test. Passing your test now. Okay, so now this guy knows Shas.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. Oh, he brings it here. Very good. Passing your test actually. Now, not only that, but HaMelech Kisei Shein Gadol. So now HaMelech made his throne. He made it out of Shein Gadol. This was of Mupas. So again, like I said earlier, I got confused before, but he made his throne out of ivory. What's ivory? So ivory was the elephant tusk. So he made it out of that, and he covered it with shiny gold. What? Right. Oh, very good. He's saying it's called shein because it is the teeth. It's the tooth. Yeah, it's not only elephant, by the way. I mean, today they basically make it out of elephant, but you can really make it out of the tooth of a rhino or any big, yeah. Anyway, so the throne was made out of ivory, and he covered it with gold. Rashi says it sparkled like a pearl. It was like shiny, like a very shiny type of gold. Okay, now how was this throne? Oh, very good. So okay, so it was sheish malis akisei. So Shlomo had a throne, and he had 6 steps of the throne. Go up, Rosh Ogol Kisei Machurav. And the top of the throne was behind him was round. It was like an arch on top. And the Yoda is bizarre, and there was arms on both sides. Al Makam Shabbat where he sat. And there were 2 lions. There were 2 lions, one on each side of the arm. So again, Shlomo sat over here. There's some sort of arch above him, round arch, and then there were 2 lions, one on each side. And also, okay, and then there was Shteim Asa Arayim Amedes Sham, and there were 12 lions there. So there were on the steps on each side, there were 6 lions on one side, 6 on the other side, 1 per step. And that's actually a little bit like the other picture. This picture shows a little better. Basically, Shlomo is sitting over there, the lions over there, and you have on each side, you have 6 steps, you have 6 lions on one and 6 on the other side. That's the simple pasuk. And you can look up and the Medrash brings down much greater. It's beyond the scope of this year, but you can look it up. It talks all about how Shlomo had these animals picking him up and taking him up the steps, down the steps, and I don't know, all different things were happening. But the simple pasuk here talks about a basic throne with these gold lions on both sides, and by the armchair, and that's basically pretty much all it talks about in this Perek over here. But again, there's much more in the Medrash, and maybe Heshi will talk about today in the shiur in his special raid bites. But for now, we'll just stay simple, right? Because the peacock. There's also the Nach nuggets. Okay, pasuk Chaf Aleph v'chol kli mashke HaMelech Shlomo. In Shlomo's house, all the cups. Again, there's so much wealth that all the cups were zav. Okay, and in his summer type of house was zav sagar, was even more chashiv, was like pure type of gold. We had earlier was sagar mean. So we said before that it was so chashiv that all the stores closed down. So it's called zav sagar. When this gold came out, sagar, everyone was out of business. Now, ein kesef le'nechshav b'mei Shlomo b'uma. And now it was so much wealth that silver had 0 value in the time of Shlomo HaMelech. Now, pasuk Chabez, ki ani Tarshish l'melech hayam, because when the king had his ships and he had his ships of Tarshish at sea, im ani chiram. So when Shlomo had his ships together with chiram ships, okay, once every 3 years, Tavi ani Tarshish, the ships of Tarshish would bring back nice zav chesef. They used to bring carrying gold, silver, and habim is ivory. The koifim the sukim, monkeys and peacocks. So these, again, it wasn't readily available, these items around the world, but in Tarshish they used to bring it back, and then they used to, the way I understand it, and then they used to bring it to Shalayim, and that's how they had access to these things. So how did they get the ivory, and how did they get more and more gold and silver? They brought it from different voyages, and that's how it came to Shalayim. Okay? We call him Malachim Eretz, and Shlomo became greater than all the kings around the world. From wealth, like we see, and Chachma, we know Shlomo, Chachma we call them. Everyone they sought after Shlomo Melech. Everyone wanted to, everybody wanted to catch some of his Chachma. Now, so when they used to come, they used to bring gifts, chesev, chizav, silver. Again, even though it wasn't so valuable to him, but I guess maybe to them it was valuable. They used to bring chesed, they used to bring zav. With Shlomo, they used to bring shlomish, the clothing, salomos. The nashek, with some they used to bring nashek is a gun, I guess weapons. Some is spices, susim and horses. Right, it means clothing. They used to be clothing, guns, nashek, samim, susim, fradim, and mules. Year after year. So again, Shlomo Melech, everybody used to come and they wanted to get some of his chachma and get some to see what's going on, and then maybe to learn a thing or two. So when they used to come, they used to bring presents, and these are the presents they used to bring. Pasuk Chavav. But yes, if Shlomo Rechev Prashim, and Shlomo had a tremendous amounts of Rechev, which is the chariots, Prashim, riders, and Vehi Lo Elef Arba Meis Rechev, and he had a total of 1,400 chariots. So Rashi means that Ayat Devar Yom says 1,700. So Rashi explains that 300 it doesn't count here because 300 were Yerushalayim. So it's just saying besides what he had Yerushalayim, he had an additional 1,400, and also Shneim Asar Elef Prashim, and there was 12,000 riders, cavalry men. And they put them in the city of Rechev in Melech Shlomo Yerushalayim. With Shlomo Yerushalayim, so again, he's just saying is that there was a tremendous amount of chariots and riders and horses. Now, okay, that's Pasuk Chavav. Now, Vayiten HaMelech has a kesef, Yerushalayim Kavanim, and it says here that kesef was worthless as a stone is worthless. Now, they all ask. I think Rashi brings it down. We said before it was Muma, had no value. So how are you saying now it's Kavanim, which has some value? Is it valueless or not valueless silver, right? So the mile, just explain. The mile of it being valueless is trying to show there's so much wealth that even silver is worth nothing. But now it seems to say that silver is worth something. So Rashi says, "Kad kodim shenasu Shlomo es bas parei." Before he married bas parei, he was on a much higher level. So when he was on that much higher level, there silver was worth nothing. But once he went ahead and married bas parei, which we know was beginning of a lot of the downfall of Shlomo Melech, so then it was almost like a punishment a little bit, and then silver started getting value. Okay, Pasuk, where are we up to? Again, so Vayit HaMelech has kesef b'Yerushalayim kavanim, as harazim nasan keshikm, and cedars were as common as sycamore. Asher b'shvela b'rav, it was so much that it didn't have a lot of value because it had a lot of it. Okay, Pasuk Chavches hamaytzi susim asher l'Shlomo b'Mitzrayim u'mikveh. Shlomo, okay, just explain to you outside, and I'm doing it inside. So basically, Shlomo had a lot of horses. Where did he get the horses from? From Mitzrayim. Now, who controlled the horses? The Mitzrayim, the cartels of Mitzrayim. So Shlomo Melech made a deal with the cartels of Mitzrayim, and no one's allowed to export any horses, only through Shlomo Melech's people. So therefore, Shlomo Melech's people control the price of horses. And now that horses represents power. And the reason why Shlomo Melech was peace in the time of Shlomo Melech was because he had the biggest army. He had all the horses. Yes, peace through exactly. So therefore, since he controlled the price of the horses, it's almost controlling the price and the access to the tanks. And therefore, they had peace in the time of Shlomo, and they controlled it. And these cartels that through he went ahead and they worked together, and therefore it was all good. Now that's the next two psukim. So let's see it inside. And the source of the horses of Shlomo, where to get it from Mitzrayim u'mikvah, and from Mitzrayim and from the cartels, the HaMelech, and these were the traders of the king. Yukvu mikvah v'mechir, and they went ahead, and through these cartels they controlled the price of the horses. And how much were the horses? The value. The Tala Taitze Merkavim Mitzrayim was sheish me'os kesef. So it was sheish me'os. It was 400 kesef for. The way Rashi explains it means for 4 horses. Sheish Meos, 600. Right, 600. Right, I meant 600 silver pieces was the value of 4 horses, and there was sus, and 1 horse was chamesh meos. Was the sus chamishim meya. I'm sorry, 150. Exactly. So that's why it had so much. No, the answer is it was worth something because we're at this point already after he married Bas Paris. So it had a little value, and the little value it had was 150 pieces of silver, very little. And v'chein nechom malchei chitim v'malchei aram biyadam yitziu, and this and like in the same way, all the kings of Aram and Chitim, they all exported the horses through Shlomo. Right, and that's what Rashi says because it was 4 horses per chariot, and therefore it was for every chariot it was 600. Why 600? Because it had 4 horses, but each horse itself was 150, and that's what the end of Perek the Perek Yud in Malachim. Okay, tomorrow we'll start the story of Shlomo marrying all around the world. That's tomorrow's shiur. Perek Yud.